Welcome, everyone. I am Brenda Radido, and this is Africa Matters. Mpox has been declared a global health emergency, not only in Africa, but across the globe. A deadly new strain is spreading across Central Africa. We'll look at what this means and what's been done to contain it. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, has been endemic in the Democratic Republic of the Congo for decades. But the World Health Organization says the new variant could spread beyond the DRC and into neighboring countries. And that's why it has issued its highest level of alert for a second time. Let's look at where this highly infectious disease has been reported so far. The Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says at least 24 African countries have been affected by Mpox. More than 17,000 suspected cases have been reported across the continent. And Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, and Burundi have reported Mpox cases for the first time. Most of the nearly 3,000 people infected with Mpox and more than 500 who have died from the infectious disease are from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Zanem Neti Zaidi has more from Goma.
Itchy skin makes him want to scratch himself almost every minute. He's also running a fever, and that's making life unbearable for this little boy. His war-displaced mother, who has a shelter in the Kanyaruchinya camp, says she fears for her son's health as he shows signs of having Mpox.
My child's problem is the scabies on his body. There's so much of it. It bothers him. He even has a fever. He can't keep quiet and take breast milk. It bothers him. My wish is for my child to be treated medically.
In North Kivu province, hundreds of Mpox cases have been reported this year, and majority of them are children. The international NGO MEDER has set up an isolation center north of the city of Goma to care for probable and confirmed cases who are quarantined before recovery. The doctor in charge of the Nyiragongo General Hospital, where the care site has been set up, says a thorough response is needed.
We opened this disease treatment center on June 14. So far, we have already registered 252 cases here at the hospital. The population must observe hygiene measures. If the population observes hygiene rules, there will be less spread of this disease.
Faced with the rapid spread of Mpox, the health authorities have launched an awareness campaign in several displacement camps.
Health workers explain the symptoms of the disease and where to go when a case is reported.
We raise awareness of monkeypox, explaining how to prevent it and why this disease is very dangerous. It's a disease that's transmitted by bodily contact, so you have to be very careful with observing hygiene rules, like washing your hands every time.
Overcrowding and lack of water in camps like this is also making it harder to stop the spread of the disease.
This disease attacks many people in the camps because of the large number of people. For example, where people go to fetch water, look at how people are crowded together because there isn't enough water and there are so many people. So if one person is infected, they can infect several people at once.
The World Health Organization has triggered its highest level of international health alerts, and people here hope that it will help in the battle against Mpox and translate to better and faster treatment for them. Zanem Neti Zaidi, Africa Matters, Goma, DRC.
Salim Abdul Karim is the director of the Center for the AIDS Program of Research in South Africa and professor of global health at Columbia University. He joins me from Durban in South Africa. Thank you for joining us on Africa Matters. Now, it's not the first time that Mpox is being declared a global health emergency. What's different this time and making it so difficult to contain in Africa?
Well, greetings to you and your viewers. The situation now is substantially different. And the main challenge that we're facing right now relates to four separate problems. The first is that the overall number of cases is substantially higher now than it was in 2022 when the WHO declared it an emergency. In fact, it's 3 times more cases. The second is that the number of cases is not static. It is increasing week by week. So what we are seeing is a large number of cases, and the cases are increasing. The third is we are seeing more deaths than we expected. And those deaths are occurring at about 3 to 4% of the infected individuals, which is higher than we have seen before. And fourthly, that we are seeing cases now in countries that didn't have cases until a few weeks ago. So the main challenge we have is a huge outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And the cases in the DRC are now driving spread into many of its neighboring countries. And so that's what poses the threat that we are seeing now that is different from what we have seen before.
So, Professor Karim, are African countries now able to stop the spread of Mpox at the moment? And what do they need to do?
So Mpox, unlike what we understand from COVID and other pandemics, in Mpox, the virus itself spreads at a much slower rate because it depends on personal contact and sexual transmission to spread from one person to the other. So it's not like with COVID where you got thousands of people infected, within a matter of a week. Here, you're dealing with a much more slower spreading virus. And so the opportunity to actually control it, as many countries in Africa have successfully done in the past, depends on our ability to actually get ahead of this virus. And that means that you've got to do testing. You've got to find the cases. And every case that you find, you've then got to track the contacts that may have become infected, and you've got to get them isolated so they don't pass the virus on. So it's very simple public health measures that bring this virus under control. And the problem we have is that in the mining town and the areas of the DRC where this virus is spreading, they are in the midst of quite a severe conflict. It's a war zone. So we can't get the specimens from the patients into the laboratory. We can't do the laboratory testing. We can't do the contact tracing. So many of the elements that we need to control this disease have broken down in that area. Fortunately, in most of the other countries where we have seen cases, for example, in South Africa, we've seen 24 cases to date so far this year. We've been able to track them down. We've been able to follow their cases, their contacts. And so we've brought it under some measure of control. It's not out of control in this country. We still see sporadic cases. But in the DRC, that's not the case. And that's what we've got to do.
So, Professor, it's good you're talking about the mining sites in DRC. Let us not forget about the displacement camps where cases of Mpox, have been reported.
So we're seeing that Mpox is using the opportunity of the disruption in our healthcare services, the disruption in the way in which people are interacting and the ability of public health measures to be implemented, and it's using that opportunity to spread. Now, if we are going to stem the tide of the spread of this virus, we've got to institute and ensure that displaced individuals, and not just displaced, but individuals in areas of political instability, that we are still able to reach them and find the cases to stop the virus from spreading.
But then, Mpox vaccine are available, but few are accessible in a country like the DRC where Mpox is endemic. Why is this still the case?
Well, it should be pointed out that, the Mpox vaccine, there aren't huge supplies in the world. There are just a few million available, and they're pretty expensive. The Jynneos vaccine, for example, costs in the region of around $200 per dose, and you need to give 2 doses to a patient. So that's $400 per patient or per person. So the vaccination is not a community-wide strategy. In fact, that's not the best use of the vaccine and the available stocks of the vaccine. The best way to use the vaccine is to make it available to those at high risk. So that's healthcare workers and exposed individuals who are HIV positive. So you've got to use the vaccine in a very considered and careful way. But the problem is that we don't have the vaccine in any quantities to even use it to vaccinate healthcare workers right now. So that's got to be addressed. So the challenge of vaccine inequity still applies, even though we're not talking about vaccinating entire communities.
Salim Abdul Karim, the director of the Center for the AIDS Program of Research in South Africa, thank you for joining us here on Africa Matters. Fresh Sudan peace talks started in Switzerland, but none of the warring sides showed up. However, the United States, which is leading the talks, insists that the event must go on. The talks are aimed at ending the war between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. The conflict has killed thousands and driven about 10 million people. Grace Kuriakanja reports.
The more than a year-long war has led to thousands being killed and caused the world's largest displacement crisis. And now many of those displaced have to deal with yet another lethal challenge: flooding.
On the same day we arrived at the camp, it rained heavily. The suffering is immense. This is the second suffering after the war. All the tents were swamped, not inside, but underneath the plastic.
The war between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces has left many desperate.
I hope the war ends so we can return home. That is all we wish for.
Miles away in Geneva, peace talks began for Sudan, but without Sudan. The army said it would boycott the talks.
We will move forward with this event this week, and that has been made clear to the parties. We have had a commitment and engagement from the RSF. We've had extensive engagement with the SAF, but they have not yet given us an affirmation.
But what about the people who will be directly impacted by the prospect of peace? Some have faith, others do not.
Every positive step that can get the Sudanese people out of the negative situation it's enduring and the current suffering it's going through is one we hope will succeed.
We believe that American mediation is not a solution for us as a Sudanese state because the U.S. imposed a blockade on us for 30 years.
Having suffered war, rape, displacement, famine and now flooding, the people say all they want is for both sides to sit at the negotiation table and bring peace. Grace Kuriakanja, Africa Matters.
Talks to resolve the dispute between Somalia and Ethiopia did actually take place in Turkey's capital, Ankara. Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan says the second round of talks between the two countries made significant progress. Speaking at a joint news conference with his Somali and Ethiopian counterparts, Fidan said Ankara will hold another round next month. TRT World's diplomatic correspondent Hassan Abdullah has more.
When Ethiopia signed this deal with Somaliland in January, Somalia saw it as an act of aggression. Somaliland was to lease part of its coastline to Ethiopia. Ethiopia, in turn, agreed to recognize Somaliland as an independent state. But Somalia sees the breakaway Somaliland as part of its territory. As the Horn of Africa was bracing for a potential war, Turkey intervened.
Our goal as Turkey is and continues to be reconciling existing concerns and bridge the gaps in a manner that will benefit not only Somalia and Ethiopia, but also the region as a whole. We believe that a collaborative and constructive solution is within our reach. With the sustained engagement of the parties and continued commitment to the success of the Ankara process, we aim to be able to finalize the specific parameters of a sustainable and viable outcome to the benefit of all concerned parties.
In Ankara, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan sat down with both ministers.
It is gratitude to the Republic of Turkey for hosting and mediating the second round of the talks between Somalia and Ethiopia in Ankara. We commend Turkey's unwavering support and commitment to fostering peace and stability in our region. We thank President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, President of the Republic of Turkey, and his government's effort in their determination in promoting regional stability. In this round of discussions, progress was made, and Somalia remains committed to protecting its sovereignty, territorial integrity, and unity.
The Ethiopians too have welcomed the Turkish rule.
I'm confident that Minister Hakan now appreciates the importance of Ethiopia's attached to this facilitation. Ethiopia's legitimate interest and peaceful manner in which we seek to secure dependable access to and from the sea. Ethiopia has endeavored to de-escalate tensions and restore normal relations in the region. We look forward to have continued engagement that will ultimately help us resolve current differences and restore normal relations.
The United States and Kenya have previously tried to mediate, but could not go as far.
Turkish shuttle diplomacy has been a stepping stone towards confidence building. The next round of talks are set for September, and all parties are hoping those talks will produce a concrete outcome. Hassan Abdullah, Africa Matters.
But residents of the town of Eswatini in the Gambia, who have endured terrible violence from state security forces during the regime of former President Yahya Jammeh, are still seeking justice and dealing with the trauma. Following accusations of witchcraft, several were tortured or murdered, and many left with lifelong health problems, as Maimuna Ba found out.
In the heart of Eswatini, a village in the Gambia, the echoes of a dark chapter still resonate. After the death of then-President Yahya Jammeh's aunt, this village became the center of a brutal campaign to track down the so-called witches he believed killed her.
On a Thursday morning, some soldiers walked to me, telling me I should follow them. I then asked, what did I do wrong? I walked up to a man who was wearing red clothes, accusing me of being a witch without proof. I was beaten, tortured. It was like a nightmare.
Yahya Jammeh ruled the Gambia with an iron fist of 22 years, until he was deposed and exiled in 2017. He was known for erratic behavior, including claims that he could cure AIDS with herbal remedies. He used state security forces to silence oppositions, subjecting his people to torture, extrajudicial killings. But says he's still suffering the effects of that day.
They forced me to drink a herbal concoction as an alleged remedy that has left me with ongoing health problems. Every day I struggle with the side effects, and it feels like it has no end in sight. I hope I live to see all those responsible brought to justice.
Once a respected educator, Tabora's Job's life was changed forever by the witch hunt.
I was once a teacher, dedicated to my students and my community. But after the accusation, I lost everything. The stigma was unbearable. I had people call me a witch. Attending social gatherings is something I cannot do. My profession, my dignity, all taken from me.
She is calling for justice for all those who were victimized.
So I'm now for 3 years, the 40 years. The herbal drink they gave me is affecting my health, and some others died. I have used all what I had on treatment. I want the world to know what happened to us. It feels like the process is dragging on, and I worry that those responsible will never be held accountable. It is a constant struggle to find closure.
This building here is where the worst alleged atrocities took place. It is now a stark reminder of that dark period, once a site of a profound fear and suffering. Basiru Ba says it will take years before perpetrators will be brought to justice.
Accountability for transitional justice-related crimes and offenses, generally speaking, and specifically the Gambia, will always take a long period of time. Why? Because you will have to start from legal reform, institutional reform, and then subsequently prosecution of individuals. So, short answer, it's going to take a very long time for justice to be reached for victims of the witchcraft allegations.
As the sun sets over Esau, it represents another day in the journey towards justice. Maimuna Ba, Africa Matters, Banjul, the Gambia.
To Ghana next, which has long been a leader in gold production, but the country's reliance on exporting refined and unrefined gold has left much of the potential economic value untapped. With the launch of the Royal Ghana Gold Refinery in Accra, a new chapter begins in Ghana's economic journey, one that promises to capture more of the wealth from its abundant natural resources. Nicholas Morgan has more on this.
Ghana has taken a major step to maximize economic benefits by opening its first commercial gold refinery in Accra. The Royal Ghana Gold Refinery, with a capacity to process 400 kilograms daily, will refine gold locally, adding value before export. This initiative aims to reduce gold smuggling, increase national earnings, and create essential jobs.
Currently, our country's gold is exported in doré form to be refined outside Ghana, resulting in lost revenue and missed opportunities for job creation.
But we needed someone who will buy the gold and refine it in Ghana to the standard, the London Bullion Exchange.
The new refinery will refine gold to 24-carat purity, keeping more profits from gold production within Ghana. The refinery, a partnership between Rosy Royal Minerals and Ghana's central bank, is expected to create up to 120 direct jobs and 500 indirect jobs. This will boost tax revenue and empower small-scale miners, while traditional leaders see it as a path to greater resource ownership and a brighter future.
We're poor because we were exploited. So when I got here and listened to all the speakers, I just took a big sigh of relief and said, finally, we're here.
As Ghana anticipates the benefits, attention now turns to the refinery's operation and its broader economic impact. This initiative could inspire other African nations to ensure natural resource wealth directly benefits their economies and people. Nicholas Morgan, Africa Matters.
In Eswatini, a nation rich in culture, young Swazi girls face an uphill battle against poverty, limited education, and teenage pregnancy challenges that threaten to derail their future. Yet, in this environment of struggle, a group of determined ballerinas defy the odds, limping over limitations and pirouetting into history. Nokuhanya Musi reports from Mbabane, the capital city of Africa's last absolute monarchy, where these unlikely ballerinas find hope and strength in the art of ballet.
Amidst the rolling hills of Eswatini lies a dance studio, a place where young Swazi girls meet daily, daring to defy expectations. Here in this humble space, they find something more than dance. They find possibility and hope.
When I joined Talent in Motion, I was just a shy girl with big dreams. Now I've become a ballerina, stronger in both body and mind. Dancing has changed my life, and I want to pass that gift on to others.
We used to think ballet was for rich kids and kids in big cities, but now we know that ballet is for everyone. It doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, or how much money you have. If you're passionate and willing to work hard, you can achieve anything.
In this humble dance studio, young girls like Ndonia Manzi and Renelwe are not just learning the beauty of dance,
but they are also learning the strength and resilience it takes to overcome adversity one step at a time. The studio's founder says she's committed to empowering these young dancers beyond the studio by creating a community that values girls' education, health, and leadership.
I founded Talent in Motion Academy because I wanted to give girls in our community the opportunity to believe in themselves, to dream big and work hard. I know firsthand how difficult it can be to break out of the cycle of limited opportunities, but I believe that dance can provide a powerful way for girls to transform their lives. I want to show them that they can be graceful, strong, and fearless. I want them to know that the only limits on their potential are the ones they place on themselves.
For these young ballerinas, dance is not just a hobby, but a portal to empowerment, a pathway to self-discovery, and a promise of a brighter tomorrow. Nogukanya Musi, Africa Matters, Mbabane, Eswatini.
That's our show this week. Share your thoughts and suggestions about the stories you've seen on this episode, or ideas on what you'd like us to cover on YouTube or on X using the hashtag Africa Matters. Thanks for watching, and it's goodbye from me, Brenda Radido.